Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa. Today, live, streaming. I'm going to show you how you can paint from this reference photo of a horse in sunflowers. A horse in sunflowers. Does that sound fun, John?
That does.
On the mic is my husband, John. So when I break down step by step how to paint this horse in acrylic, John's going to be making sure that the cameras are pointed exactly at what I'm demonstrating or talking about. That way, if you need a close-up view of something, you're going to see it. That way, the palette's going to be available to you the entire time, just to let you know where paint is on the palette. We have phthalo green, phthalo blue, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, also yellow oxide, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, Mars black, ultramarine blue, and titanium white. I'm working on an 8x8 surface today, so if you do acrylic April with us, if you had some extra surfaces, this is a perfect painting to use one of those up. And on today's canvas, I have the wish or intention for the world that there is safety and peace for all children everywhere. Now, today's painting is really going to be just putting everything we're worried about in our lives and in the world down for a second and just enjoy this horse in a field, which I think everybody was kind of ready to be doing, right? And I felt like everybody was kind of there. Now, listen, if you don't draw, I am going to draw this horse out, but if you don't draw, there's a traceable, and that's available on the website for you to download and transfer on. If you don't know how to transfer traceable onto a canvas, that is okay. I have videos about that. I'm not going to be demoing that today, but we do have videos on how to do that and written out instructions, whichever are easiest for you. 7 to 10 days or so after the show, there'll be a mini book that comes out of matching written instructions that match this video. We don't have it before the show because this isn't pre-recorded. This is live.
Mm-hmm.
Live. You got a text. Now you know it's a thing. It's live. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
I think we have Facebook and YouTube today, yes?
We do. We're on both Facebook and YouTube. I see
So
all people's, all the places.
I'm squished. I'm squished here, I guess.
Where are you squished?
Squished here. Like my
What,
arm just
I can
disappears.
give you
I
more
can't
arm
be
room.
expressive this way. It's okay. I don't really need to be expressive that way. I'm just noticing my arm vanishes. It's the magic trick.
It's
See?
over there. See?
You
You have
can't.
sparkly stuff over there because
Yeah,
that's why you're trimmed in.
that's why I'm trimmed in. Got to be trimmed in
Because there's
on the green
stuff
screen. 'Cause
over
there's
there
stuff.
off the green screen that isn't the world.
Let's take a deep breath and let it out. We've all got stuff we're carrying, but let's just put it down for a moment. Just a moment. We're going to put it down and we're just going to have some fun painting because painting in and of itself is just always fun, isn't it? Just always delightful and enjoyable. And I really am very glad to be doing it here today. John, would you like to throw up step one for us?
I could. See here,
I'm going to sip my
steps,
coffee while you do that.
but I'm going to have to make.
Snoopy mug.
I'm going to say, what are we going to? We'll sacrifice the palette
No.
to give us a step. See if that works.
Okay.
It does. There it is.
Step one.
Step horse in sunflower.
All right. John will put the palette back. Don't worry.
I'll put the palette back. I only have so many. Oh, not that one. I have so many.
See,
buttons.
live. I didn't rehearse this painting either, so good luck to all of us. Just kidding. I'm actually pretty sure I've got it handled. Now I'm going to be starting out with a 3/4 inch angle brush. I could use a bright, I could use a big mop, I could use anything. I'm just sort of going to paint the entire canvas with a little bit of yellow ochre and maybe burnt sienna together. And I'm going to be making kind of an acrylic ground. That means I'm just toning the canvas with a color. It can be streaky. It doesn't have to be perfectly painted. I just want a layer of color to start with on my surface. Notice I'm just painting it out messy. That's just going to get rid of this white for me. Help my painting have depth. Sometimes certain colors, yellows, browns, some colors are more transparent than others. And if you give yourself a ground like this, a colored ground, then you can get better results out of your painting. That's really what this is. It seems unintuitive, but that's why we try to break these down, even at the 3 hoot level for beginners, so that you guys kind of understand how these things are built. Now remember, even if you're not at a 3 hoot level, which is this painting today, you're a beginner, but maybe you're not all the way to 3 hoot beginner, that is okay. If you watch, your mirror neurons will fire and you'll actually learn a lot about painting. So even when you're not painting, you can watch a tutorial way above your current skill level and you'll learn about painting.
That's cool.
I'm just kind of smearing it out just so it's sort of evenly coated over the whole canvas. I am going to rinse out my brush now that I have done this lovely work here. And I'm going to have John get me the hair dryer, which is missing. And then I'm going to dry the canvas. Woohoo! He handled it.
All right. And so, oh, thank you very much, Deborah. That's so nice. I appreciate everybody who's joined us today. It's really nice to see everybody. Lovely, lovely. Thank you. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, Sue and everyone else here. Thank you. I see all of our friends hanging out. I was just notified that we have a huge crew with us. So thank you guys. I really, really like seeing everyone here. Um, Going over and seeing if I can see anything else here interesting in chat. Because oh, thank you, Deborah. It's okay. Oh, there's Cinnamon back.
It's dry now.
It's dry.
Oh, can you mute me for a second?
Yep. There she goes. Live is one of those things where, you have to drink and do all those things. There you go.
Human things.
Human things.
That you don't need to listen to in your headset.
Let's see here. We're on another step.
We're on another step.
Step 2.
Okay, I'm going to use a brush called a mop. These are oval mops. These particular ones are from the Princeton Select line. I've got a 3/4 inch and 1 inch. Anything in that size will work because I want to do a soft diffuse background. Another brush that you could use if you had this in your brush bucket, they're round blender, which I recommend. I think it's nice to have these in your brush bucket if you can, a good blender and a good mop in synthetic filaments because they just do wonders in blending your acrylic. All right, so I'm going to come here and let's begin with making the background. I'm going to get my brush a little bit wet and I'm going to come over into my Cad Red and Cad Yellow. All right, pretty good. And then I'm going to mix in a little bit of my white. And that's how I'm going to get to the coral that's in the background. That cool coral and the background sunset.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to get there. Cad Red is one of those things that makes a very good coral, good peach. Peach is really just orange and white, whereas if you think of pink, pink is red and white. But since Cad Red is biased so yellow, is almost an orange, right, on its own. A lot of times, you can see I'm just going back and forth, and that does create kind of a very distant little sunset space. I'm going to add a little more yellow to the mix and maybe a little more white. I'll just come here and make sure that this is got a little bit of dimensionality. And you can see already that having the yellow ochre underneath does a nice job of, keeping this background. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to go to an interesting color. I'm going to go to a little bit of my ultramarine blue and a little of my burnt sienna. If I add just a smidge of burnt sienna, it cools my ultramarine blue, deepens it, and kind of grays it out. So that'll let me push this blue back into the background here. I'm going to come right into where I have my wonderful coral here. Let's go back and forth in a horizontal line. Get a little white on the brush. You can see I'm loading it up from the edge, back and forth. I can even kind of brush some of this here. Right, there you go. Brushing that right there. All right, now I'm going to come in and grab a little bit of my green and my burnt sienna. Still with my mop brush. I haven't really changed from that. And I'm going to just blend this in. Now, I really only need to take this to the bottom, but there's 2 zones that I'm kind of addressing here. This is partially our background, but this is also some of our sunflowers that are up close. So this deep green will serve us in more than one location. I'm going to blend up my green background up into that blue area. Right. John is asking if I'm all right for a second because he's got to get his coffee. He didn't get his coffee before the show. So he's going to make sure he has his coffee. One of the funniest negative comments that I've gotten in the last month was somebody who really objected to my coffee. And usually I'm like, with most feedback, unless it's like, that guy, John needs to go away. I don't ever put up with that. But like a lot of it I will put up with. But that one I was like, I'm sorry, I can't give up my coffee. You're going to have to watch somebody else. If you need a coffee free show, we are never going to be your art teacher. That's never going to happen. Now I've rinsed out and I'm going to go back into my gray color, which if you remember, and it's good to remember all the time that a great gray, a great blue gray comes from burnt sienna and ultramarine. I'm going to kind of come over here very lightly, a little more white into it, and to make this feel like maybe a distant, out of focus mountain. Can you see how I sort of wandered this little brush stroke down and back, and it kind of created a nice little, a little bit there, and I'm going to add a little white. Why are we all still here with all of this? Well, the reason that we're still into this one step, doing all this stuff, is that we're working in a method called wet into wet. The blend comes not just from this wonderful soft brush. I've added a little white into that just to give the background some dimensionality.
Now, Alicia was asking
Hi, Alicia. How are you today?
whether or not we will draw the horse, or will that be separate that you can trace in? How are you going to handle
Okay,
it?
so I do have a traceable. You don't have to draw the horse. So if you're almost here in your painting level and you're like, it's the drawing that's going to stop me, there's a traceable, use it. Or if you just prefer to use traceables, that's okay. Drawing is fun and I highly encourage it. I do because it's so fun to learn how to draw. But if you don't draw yet, don't let that be a stop. Notice that I've kind of blended in, kind of created like the hint of a distant landscape, almost by creating little darks and lights with this. But I am going to show you guys how to draw the horse in. I just want to get this distant landscape in first, right? And then I'm going to dry everything and then we'll work on sketching him in, which I think will be super fun. How are you guys doing? Breath. Now, if you're having a lot of blending problems, yes, the brushes do help. The round blender, the oval mops, and synthetic help. Another thing that helps is that I'm working a wet palette, so my paint is staying fairly wet. I've got a mister, even for dry conditions there. You can use a product called Gloss Glazing Liquid, and that will slow down the drying time of your paint and allow you to glaze. So there's a lot that you can do to make that work, but it's really about the paint being wet when you're trying to do the blended effect.
Yeah.
I
Now, you
need to
dry
dry it
this?
again.
Okay, you're going to dry this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's some stages you want to work wet into wet, some stages you have to have it dry. So, yeah, here I am, Captain Obvious, talking to you guys while she dries the surface. So, I never know how long she's going to take, so I don't know, like, if I should roll into a whole thing about, like, all the cool stuff we got going on. At the very least, I would say go to our website and sign up at theartsherpa.com. When you sign up for an account, you get on our newsletters, and those newsletters are really informative. They, when we drop them, it has links to all of the calendar information. Helps. A lot of times, you have links to books that we're releasing and other upcoming Neato Burrito information.
Neato burrito?
See, I didn't know what to talk about, so I had to say burrito.
You had to say burrito?
The burrito came. Are we on a step?
We are on a step.
What step?
I don't know. You're supposed to track that.
Okay. This one.
Step 3, really? Okay, cool. Now I'm going to use a teeny tiny brush to do a very light sketching of my horse because I want you guys to see it. Normally I would just do this in chalk. I would do it in like a chalk pencil or a Dritz chalk tool. But again, I want you guys to be able to see it, so I'll probably do it in brown or a combo of black and brown to sketch in. And this will be interesting because I'm sketching flat, always fascinating. But I'm going to begin with a little bit of my brown and black. Now, if you're wondering what this is a number 2 D'Artagnan brush by Raphael. So it's probably overkill for this particular activity I'm doing. I'm going to put the top of my horse's head here because I've got to really understand scale. And I'm going to say that the horse comes down. The back is going to be just past the halfway point of the canvas. So just a little bit left of halfway, top of head. And then... And I can, if I want to erase, this is a really cool thing, even when I'm sketching in paint, just so you guys can see. That's why I'm pretty confident. There's this weird moment if your background is dry that you can erase marks that you make with your paint. Trying to make that decision, giving myself enough room for the head. I'm going to make a line down to the point in the canvas where I feel pretty strongly that the face is going to stop. Once I have that, I can come in and kind of sketch in our jawline, right? This jawbone on horses is a pretty significant structure. So a lot of times I'll pull that in first to find my horse. A little bit of a bump in for the jawline. And sometimes I might even get to a more of a pointy brush. This brush is too fluffy for me. It was too fluffy, John.
Too fluffy?
It was just too fluffy. I'll
I'm
use this one.
ban-hammering people on Facebook who are trolling.
Oh, are they trying to get you to click away
Yep,
to some weird website?
They're like, come look at the same stream that you're going to look at right now, but we want to charge you for it.
Yeah, that's not me. If it doesn't say the Art Sherpa or it isn't one of our identified mods, and you can always email us. And to watch a video, we're not going to charge you money. So that would be the first clue that something is definitely off. All right. So I'm catching a little bit of that little muzzle down here.
Just to be sure, if there's ever a time we have to charge you for a video, we'll tell you at the beginning of the video.
Yeah, verbally.
That
is us. We've never done that, but if we did, that's how we would do it.
We would tell you if that ever changed.
I'll bring a little eyeline across here. You come down the nose and then bring out a little nostril bump. I love the little nostril bump. The other nice thing about the background is if I had to come back in and shave anything off the horse, that peach is real easy to make again. Let's bring a little bump out here. Now, wherever you set the eye, it really helps you know where your other eye has to be. Because eyes on skulls tend to line up. Just whether you're doing a stylized thing, if you raise an eye and lower an eye, you've gone cubist. That might be fine. Maybe that's what you're trying for. You should just know that that's what's happening. See, once I start to set in certain parts of the horse, then I begin to see other areas that I've got to, deal with. Get a little bit. I'm just trying to get this light enough where I can erase it if I feel like it. Bring a little curve line down. One that I might adjust as I go. I love withers. Just adjusting that little jawline. Bringing down a little neck. Bringing down a little neck. Withers. Back. Gonna work the eye a little more.
And Tess, if you didn't find the traceable, it should be on the artsherpa.com. If you click on the calendar.
Well, no, it won't be there.
Well, but
it's not there. It's not hooked into the page.
Oh.
So just on the website, there is a button that says traceables. If you go there, it should pop right up as a first traceable. If you don't see it, you can search the keyword horse and it will pull up. And the moderators will probably go grab you a link directly to the traceable. Because we understand sometimes learning how to use a new website can be a little challenging. And also our website has way too much personality. Is that a nice way of saying it?
We have too many buttons to get to things, and we're revisiting
all of that.
How many button clicks you guys need to push. But
yeah. So when you guys are like, "Oh, I can't find it," I get it.
Yeah, there's too
We
many
all get it,
ways to find it right now.
right? Now, the traceable will be worked into the video page. It just wasn't when I put it up this morning. I'm going to bring this on up here. Setting the divot in the eye. Bringing a nice arc up there. Once you set this, then you can set some ears because you know you've got your ears will come up here and here. And I love how they curve into each other. So really, this is all I'm doing. I'm just telling myself where this little horse is. And then you make little adjustments to like his little place. You can see I just come back in and I work it out. Little curve in on the neck, curve out. Just get those nice lines going on the horse. The big thing is just make sure your eyes line up. That helps them a lot. They like to line up. The eyes like to line up. Here, kind of more of this. I'm gonna push that in or exaggerate that dish a bit on this little Arabian. So see how I just kind of came here and sort of blend out. That's a nice thing about having a little area of color that you can match here. Push away. All right. I can push that dish in now. Just exaggerate it a little bit. Let's call this a step. Either use the traceable to get the image on, or you follow along and free-handed the horse. Either way is completely fine. It's just really up to you on what makes your painting experience fun. I'm going to try this, and then we're going to move on.
So while she's trying that, we'll say, this is a step. And you can find the mini books, which often include all the resources for this. They generally come a week or two after the video releases. And those will be available on the website, on the video project page. And there you go.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. You know, back here I have a bunch of kind of fun out of focus flowers. And I might even use, this brush is a hog brush. It's pretty small. It's a number 4. I want to create some sort of dry brushed out of focus flowers that are behind the horse. It's a little bit of diffusion so that when I pull the sunflowers forward, they're super noticeable. So I'm going to begin.
There's a good question before you jump in there.
Okay.
Has to do with the lines.
Mm.
I think it's Kate Bella.
Hi!
Says if you need to make adjustments after the lines are dry, how would you remove the marks?
You paint over it with the color that's the background.
Just background it?
Like what I just demonstrated there. You paint over it, and I'm going to do another little layer of that here. So like if I'm still like removing that, I've done one layer, and then I can come back and...
Oh, you can just keep blending that out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just adjust that.
You can just adjust that. It adjusts pretty easily. Just takes it a second. Erasing is easier than you'd think. It's kind of funny how that works, but erasing is easier than you'd think. So I'm going to come here. I've got my little brush, and I'm going to loosely and in a diffused way sort of sketch a forward-facing little sunflower. See, I'm making little yellow around here. And you can come in the center. Okay. Will you heat mine? I'll come here. John's making coffee, so I asked him to heat my coffee. See how we're just kind of diffusing that? We're just kind of coming in. You can even bring a little black in. Just a little diffused. I'll wipe out sometimes. And this is what I'm going to be doing, is just trying to create little distant sunflowers. They're mostly yellow with a tint of red or brown, just to knock them back. Going to bring this little yellow one around here. And don't get too into the details, because remember, we have more focused sunflowers that layer over the top of these. You are just creating like little hints. You know, the green is showing through, everything's diffused. I'm making little short radial brush strokes, like this is almost like the shape of a C. I'm going to come in here and get a little brown and a little black. Just kind of softly imply in maybe some faces. Maybe a little browner than that. A little more diffused than that. Come here and I'm going to make sure that there's sort of like almost like camouflage, yellow and green back here. It's going to be almost like a camouflage. I'm getting a little red and yellow. You could use any round brush. You're just trying to dry brush and create a very soft, indescript sort of yellow and green modeling. I can even then come in and get some green and yellow going. And this is like, if you think of it like camouflage, we're just kind of implying a distant, out of focus little roll of sunflowers. Just going to have a nice relaxing paint today. Just wiggle that brush around. Notice that it's not a pattern. So if you're really new to painting and you're wondering, how does a complicated image like this come together? It's about understanding the placement of the layers and how you construct the painting. Sometimes you're planning for a previous layer that's coming up because we do have a couple of almost in focus sunflowers back here. So if I were to take yellow and red and a little burnt sienna, and I were to come here and make a circle over my diffused area, get a little black on there, and shade our sunflower. A little lighter at the top. And come here, just a little yellow and a titch of red is on my brush. And this sunflower will feel more formed than perhaps the ones behind it. Now, there's going to be flowers around it. It's going to be peeking through stems. But it is easier to paint the more focused sunflowers in now than trying to paint them around stems. I think we are, unless they're like yelling at me on the other end. So if they were yelling at me, I don't know it. All right, I'm going to add a little white to my yellow and maybe come here and sort of shade a little of my petals. Again, this sunflower will be peeking between other sunflowers, and that's the thing, is to understand that there's got to be some of these tucked in ones. Let's grab a little bit of burnt sienna, yellow and red, the center of the flower again. Make a little half moon one that maybe is going to be showing here in a minute. Now I know I'm going to have a lot of green and everything in front of it, so I've just got to be thinking about that plan. Just grabbing little bits of yellow, pulling out little radial marks. They're a little more in focus than the ones behind. Not as in focus as some of our more focal sunflowers will be. going around this. Now we have kind of that one. I can get a little more red into my yellow here. My mom called. She must be on a cruise. Hi, Mom. She's either landing on a cruise or coming back from a cruise or some relationship to some kind of cruise somewhere.
She's
Right?
cruising.
She's cruising. I'm going to take a little of my burnt sienna.
Oh, thank you, Bug.
Hi, Bug.
You dropped us a link
Thank you
to the
so much.
traceable. Thank you.
I'm going to make some distinctive leaf shapes here. Small brush still. This is a round. And I'm going to make sure that in this background space, we have these more hard edge leaf shapes. These will register to us as we go later, but it's just important to get them in now.
Mary reminds me of the old Ford commercials.
Hmm.
Cinnamon, have you ridden a horse lately?
No, it's been a hot minute. Really has. Horses are expensive. And sometimes I think when you have kids in a family, it's really hard to justify. And I'm not saying that you're not being responsible for your family if you have horses. I mean, just in our
We
lifestyle,
don't have
in our
land.
budget, we're never stable enough. And
Yeah, we move
we're not
often.
stable enough to keep anybody in a stable.
We don't have a stable.
We don't have a stable.
But if we did,
Ken A, will the reference photo be available? Yeah, with a watermark and a grid on it because of the laws around the images. I'm not allowed to distribute them to you.
without them being used only for reference purposes and letting you know specifically, that's what it's for.
Yes.
I'll explain while you're doing this.
Okay. All right.
So the key thing is they don't mind us using these as reference images, but they want to be able to resell those images. So if we package that image up as in its original form so that you guys can just have it, they kind of get upset because then they can look at us redistributing that. But so we put like grid things on it and marks on it so that you guys are clearly using this as a reference image and not like, putting this horse on a binder and selling 1,000,000 binders. That's not what we have the right to do with it. So, there you go. That's how we do.
That's how we do what?
Licensing.
Yes. It's such a pain.
Now,
all right.
Are we on a step?
We're going to be on a step.
Another one.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, you're just
Can you mute
stepping
me?
it up. Oh, I can. You're muted. Have a little drink of coffee. Clear your throat. I'm still got you muted. I'm waiting for you to have a. Okay, we're back. There you are. I'm not going to step you now. I'm going to de-step. Whoop.
So I am teaching you, and this is a step by step. It will have a mini book. It is definitely that next step in horse classes. Expect more horse classes this year because I'm stressed. And when I'm truly and deeply stressed, I paint horses because that's what distresses me. So hopefully that distresses you. If you like painting horses, I'd hit the subscribe button now. I got like 10 reference photos coming up. Everybody has a thing that makes them feel better when they paint. And right now, this is what makes me feel better when I paint.
You're a very, very good horse painter, drawer person.
I mean, I do what I can do. I certainly have come by and honestly, my mom painted horses and my grandmother painted horses and I paint horses.
Guys.
Goldie Crane says, sorry about my double post. My chat was not showing up. Had to refresh. Yes, we're doing better. So feeling better and taking care of the entire family. I just didn't want to say out loud your entire situation, Goldie. Never worry about that if you if we can tell when you're just like having you're just trying to get a comment through or I think the only thing that throws my moderators is young people speak in emoticons. Because it's hard to tell that moment when I had to explain to my head moderator that emojis mean stuff.
Yeah.
They all mean a thing. Was just like that crazy fun moment. Because, from an artist perspective, it's like, oh, it's pictures. I'm taking a little bit of my burnt sienna and my Mars black, and I'm going to paint in just the kind of the basis of this horse. I'm going to kind of give him an underpainting. So I'm coming along the edge, and I'll come out on his little eye cavity. I'll go in a little bit, and I think I am going to dish in a little more. A little out for the nose.
As a young cinnamon, cinnamon drew horses, 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 horses,
Yeah.
horse, 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 horse.
Yeah, I did.
And if you're on the Art Sherpa official, definitely ask her about her big hooved horses. They're my favorite ones. They're very rare to find. I have one that I have stashed away, but the big hooved horses are my favorite.
So there was a period in my life where I really believed I was going to be a jockey or a cartoonist. I ended up being a little too tall to be a jockey. So, and then cartoonist didn't work out. But I believed I was going to be a cartoonist, and I had a cartoon about horses and horse life.
Christy has a very good question.
Hmm.
Very, very good question. Christy would like to know, how much is your course?
Free. If you're talking about the beginner acrylic course, free. If you're talking about acrylic April, any of the 4 years, free. If you're talking about this right here, free. Somebody tries to charge you for it, they're not us, and they're crooks. It's just a problem
Uh,
Facebook can have or other places can have.
the only
So,
thing we've ever charged for is a long, long time ago. You could buy a USB stick with some Christmas videos on
mhm.
it and some traceables. I think that's the only time we've ever sold videos. Oh, I did sell some DVDs once. Had some DVDs that we made, and there's still a few of them in the back.
We have patrons, but honestly, the patrons will tell you they do it because they love us.
Hmm.
Like some people, their whole thing is about their school or their patronage or all that, and all that great content goes there. Bless my patrons. They're like, yeah, we see stuff early. Sometimes we get an extra lesson. When there's a lot of free time, there's drawing classes, and we name things, but we're really just helping. But then again, I let you guys set your own patron amount, so that's sort of helpful. I've done my first ear. I'm going to come in and kind of try to catch my second ear. What I love about Arabians is they have sort of like these little devil horns in their ears. So it's like always really fun for me. Try to get those in a little bit, kind
Danny,
of expressed.
Danny, yeah. Clydesdales do have big hooves, as do like Morgans and other draft
This was
horses.
really big hooves.
But these were cartoony big hooves.
These were like, I was like, what's the biggest hooves that I could paint on this situation? I'm going to grab a filbert. I'm sizing up my brush really, and I think I'm going to even just paint everything kind of out because I just want to paint all this in with a brown and black. And the reason I'm doing that is that I want to capture the contour shape of my horse, but the form of the horse, that's the way that, how the neck feels round or the face has depth and dimension. That's going to come really from value, from the lights and darks that I would use. So I'm just taking burnt sienna and Mars black, and I'm going to paint him all in brown or her. I don't
Sure.
I don't know the horse this way. And I'm just painting this all in. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
I'm kind of setting this jaw a little bit better. And that's what I'm always doing is like improving the set of something. I think I want to grab a smaller brush to kind of fiddle with my ears. What's crazy for me is like from here, you see the silhouette of a horse. Pretty fun to do. And we have a cool one hoot silhouette coming up that I'm working on of a girl and a horse. But for this is the contour. This is the shape or the form of the subject. And this is what you kind of want to get in. And you can see I've got the brown on here. It's still a little streaky, but that's okay because I've got 2, 3 layers of horse left. So that's going to be fine. What you want to try to do is get this into this point here and dry it. And we'll come back and we'll continue on painting our wonderful painting. Let's all take a deep breath. Breathe in the calm. Breathe away the fear and anxiety. Breathe in the calm. Breathe away the fear and anxiety. We're We're all under so much pressure. Better? Hopefully
Yes.
better. All right, I'm going to try this and we'll come back and do another step. I'm usually much more hyper than this, but today I'm like, I gotta uncouple.
Now, to everybody here who's joining, if you are new to doing horses, this is a really great place to start. Cinnamon has taught a lot of horse paintings, really knows horses very well. I've tried to talk her into doing a horse series. I think at some point she will, but she's very good at explaining how to paint horses because she spent so much time looking at them and drawing them. So this is a really great place to start if you've always wanted to paint a horse.
Yeah. And listen, art can really help your mood, right? So, in mental health, right? I have to work to take care of my mental health. One of the things that I always do is I recognize that it's multi-layered. And yes, painting anything can help improve my mental state, but I also recognize that I have biochemistry, which sometimes can overcome my strategies. And I just want to say, if you're ever in a place where the things that usually help you reset just aren't working, man, reach out. Reach out and talk to somebody and don't let that go on, especially right now, because y'all just don't even know how the stress of the world is impacting everybody and can make small things feel bigger. Sometimes little things are just, they feel like big things. So recognize that, while feelings aren't facts, they're still real. And if you're not resetting, if today's horse doesn't do it for you, it's okay. Know that I do that too. I have a regular mental health check in. I talk to a counselor and I always take care of that because I recognize it's a journey. It's not a destination. Wish it was though.
Mm,
And whether it's recovery or mental health or any of those things, everything is a process, isn't it?
yeah.
All right. So I have little tiny hog brushes. Those are always fun. I like little hog brushes because they do great dry brushing. I even have I have the Simply Simmons ones, which are pretty terrific too and inexpensive. Right. So these are the Artines. The Artines, they're a little bit pricier. These are a little bit less money. Um, Either will get you where you need to go. I'm gonna start out with this one and I'm gonna begin to paint my horse, yo.
Yeah.
So let's start with a little bit of orange. I might even get some yellow oxide into that orange just to kind of tone it down. And I'm gonna get brown in that mix. And this will be the beginning of our sorrel.
Oh, I don't know if I stepped you up
Oh,
there.
step me.
Just in case, I'm going to go back and make sure that everybody knows that we're on 6.
DDE is saying that I love we're talking about mental health. It's a big thing for artists and and it's saying that they also work hard on theirs. Yeah, nobody's having an easy time of it, even if they're really good at being present and seeking their most joyful place. That's an active activity for everybody. Sometimes I think when one has any kind of mental health stuff going on, it feels like everybody else is having an easier time. And I just want to say, if you're out there and feeling like that, just know that some people just have more tool sets or maybe are in a better chemistry point. We're going to take this orange and just kind of blend this down the horse. And art really helps with that. It's not the only thing, but it does help. Music can help. Honestly, I just think taking times to recognize health, self care is very helpful.
Hmm.
I am going to pull some of this lighter color down to express the withers.
Alice asks,
Oh, the shoulder.
are you
Withers are right here. Hmm?
are you familiar with Phyllis Fullerton? She painted mostly Arabians.
Ah, gosh, that sounds really familiar to me.
Hmm.
I'm gonna Google it,
Well,
but that
look it.
sounds really familiar. I mean, like my big thing growing up was, of course, Walter Farley, and I read all the Black Stallions, like all of them, even the ones with Flame on the Island. I was deep.
Wait, there's an island?
Yes, there is. There's aliens too. It gets involved. The Black doesn't just have that one race with Alec Ramsey. There's a lot happening. Um, But I was really into Robert Vavra, who was a photographer. Um, I remember I mucked a lot of horse stalls to be able to buy his photography book, which I was really into. And I want a little bit of shadow here at the chest, and I'm trying to kind of create a little bit of highlight there. Now, coming up the belly, I'm going to round that brush stroke, guys, because the, the horse's body around the belly, if everything is going well, should be quite round.
Yeah.
They should have a nice little healthy little belly. Cabela22 says, thank you for your talent and sharing your personal stories. I appreciate lessons, but I appreciate you sharing your personal stories. It helps me feel not quite so alone. Well, I'm really glad that you appreciate that. We're in it together. We're here. This is our planet. We're all in it with each other. It's we're more connected than I think we know. I'm going to grab a little yellow ochre, mix that back into my orange color, get back into my burnt sienna coming over here. And you can also get a little more yellow into that to create kind of like the shiny little highlights. If you want to create some shinier highlights, that's a doable thing. A little more orange here, just trying to round that out. Now, here, and you wouldn't see this because it's far below the plant line, but you know, the whole shoulder structure would take up this space here. So I've got to kind of plan for that. You see me moving my head because sometimes the glare is really high and I've got to get my head out of the way. I'm not doing the turntable today because I know it was making some of our viewers a little seasick. I do listen to you. I listen to all reasonable feedback. Feedback where I should stop drinking coffee, I don't listen to that. But all reasonable feedback I try to listen to.
Oh, that's kind of an interesting question.
Hmm.
Dana would like to know, what's a mop brush for?
So mop brushes do a bunch of things. Let's set this little wither over here. Shoulder over here. Mop brushes allow you to put out large, even fields of water in watercolor. They allow you to do soft, diffused painting, and they allow you to blend. I also use them for trees and plants and clouds and just about everything under the sun because they're a very versatile brush. But that's their core use is for that. Now I'm going to come here and get a little bit of my highlight, come along my neck to this outside edge here. And then definitely coming down this part of the neck, I want to talk about this major muscle. It's going to be arcing here. I love all the horsey muscles. They're just my favorite. Just putting a little mid-tone brown. See how we're starting to create form in the horse? That's important. I like this. Look at that go. Uh, Lollipop Strawberry says, question, why do you put some hills or mountains at the back of your painting? Why don't you? There are. They're just very diffused and out of focus. If you check the reference, that's kind of the look that we're doing where the background is out of focus and the horse becomes the major focus to the subject. So that's why I'm doing that. But if you want to do them in a more in focus way, you can do that. But sometimes we put things out of focus a bit so that they can feel distant from us in an atmospheric perspective sort of sense. I'm going to grab a little bit of my red. I think I'm going to want to come along the jaw here. Maybe a little more brown than that. I haven't even set the eye yet. I'm just kind of thinking about just the major form. Now I'm going to come back down to the brown and black.
Are you just using water to thin your paint?
I'm just using water to thin my paint. I'm not using a medium at this moment. You could use a medium. Some artists have very strong opinions on the use of water. And the reason I laugh is just because if you know anything about the material science of it, you know anything about the history of acrylic paint, you know it was literally made to be thinned with water.
That was
So
its design.
it's designed that way. And a lot of the things that we even thought about water ended up being not accurate in any way with acrylic paint. Golden Artist Colors has a blog that you should follow if you paint acrylic at all called Just Paint. You just search the blog Just Paint by Golden Artist Colors, and they do studies. They release their scientific findings. And one of them was about how much water you could add to acrylic paint before it stopped being able to bind. And they actually found that quality acrylic paint had a much wider range of thinning capacity than ever previously thought. If you were into that kind of thing, that would be a thing that you could know. I'm going to put a little bit of a kind of a dark value in there. Come into the outside of my ear. Just again, the beginning of it. Just the beginning of it. Now I kind of want to come in with my background sky color. Kind of reshape this ear a bit. I'm going to dry it and then continue to reshape it because I don't feel like it's got enough of a turn on it.
And guys, if you're having trouble on Facebook, I am sorry. Sometimes Facebook has some security things they're working out. So yeah,
Hmm?
I've had it. So I was talking about Facebook can be finicky because
Oh, yeah.
I can't even open up chat on sometimes when we're streaming
Yeah,
because
because it goes, you've overused Facebook.
it thinks I'm spamming chat.
It does. It
So
thinks we're spamming chat. It's so
it's
weird.
it's kind of weird. I appreciate you guys trying to send stars. We love and appreciate it. But know that
If it doesn't let
if
you,
it,
it,
yeah,
you know,
we get it.
it's literally one of the situations where it's the thought that counts.
Yeah,
We appreciate it so much.
we do.
All right, I'm going to come here and kind of shape out that ear a bit. Let's pull some baseline back. Right, and then we're making sure we have a base that shows where the ear can sit. And that's an important thing is you need a place the ear can sit. Has to have a structure. All right. Let's call this a step and we'll come back and continue on painting our horse, which is just the whole point of today. Remember, we started early today so that we could just have a relaxing time paint this and not just rush through. So we're taking our time with this. We are finding our way through.
Those horse ears are very expressive, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are. And they have weird little muscles that let them like locate sound. You know, I always tell a horse is like on about something. It's like little ears are going like little radar dishes.
And I'm gonna have our mods here see if we can find a link to the completion certificate
Mm.
in our store because they were asking if that's still available.
Yes, yes. If you'd like to order the completion certificate from the store, that is still available. It should not be taken down.
If it
If it
is,
is,
it's a
that's our
mistake.
mistake, and we'll
Yeah,
put it back up.
yeah.
All right. Did we do the step?
I did.
So I'm going to come here with a little bit of black. Kind of set this little jaw here. I'm just using a number 5 Royal and Langnickel brush. This is not pricey. It is not a specialty brush. Now, one of my favorites is the gray on the horse, but I like to use the burnt sienna and the ultramarine blue to get to this gray. Just a weird thing for me. You don't have to do that. It's just a thing I like to do. You could do black and white if you felt like it. Come here and kind of piece out the little mouth.
Yeah, we may have to.
What?
The certificate may have been made invisible, so we're gonna go in there and check it.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I don't. That's just a goof on our part.
Yeah, we've been adding and things to the store and changing things around for the announcements coming up in the next week. So uh, there's new stuff showing up in the store soon.
So I'm just taking my gray. Yeah, we've got lots of new stuff coming up in the store. A little bit back on the muzzle, right? The muzzle's got some gray.
They got it. There's the lid. Thank you, Karen.
Just a little gray on the muzzle. I'm going to come in, again, I'm just using this round. This is just a round that's labeled for acrylic or watercolor. This is a multi-use brush. It is not expensive. Why am I using it? It was in the bucket. I'm going to bring my little eyelet over. I'm going to add a little bit of a divot for where it's actually probably going to get covered by the forelock, but I just want to have it there. Just so I know where it is. I'm going to get into my gray. Make sure there's a little bit of this little gray around here. Get into some more white. I love the little stripe down his face. So I'm definitely going to kind of mimic that. Get a little more water on my brush because the paint was not flowing off.
Allison just set me up for a great question where I want to show something off, and I don't know if it's okay.
No, we're just painting a little stripe in, so I think it's okay, but
She says, what's the best way of getting the last bit of paint out of a tube?
oh. I got it. It's over here. It's called, this is new. I had a different one, but it was an industrial tube ringer. This is actually better. We just found this at NAMTA. This is Big Squeeze. And he's got a website. Right now it comes in colors. He's thinking about not having as many colors. Huh?
There's teal, orange, black, and silver.
But basically what happens is I need a tube that I've got the cap on a little bit better than this burnt sienna, but I'll try it with the burnt sienna. I'm going to do it over my palette just in case I didn't get my cap on correctly, but I take the tube and I place it into here and then I roll it in the ringer and you can see it pushed all the paint towards the end. And that really allows you to save a lot of money on paint. You're not leaving any in the tube. Again, the big thing is that you have it capped well.
Yeah,
Big Squeeze. We're going to, when we have our online store, we're going to sell this.
Yeah, these guys were so cool. The reason why I wanted to show it off is it's such a well-made product.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Like we were stocking him at NAMTA.
We were just showing it to people, saying, "Gotta put this in the store."
Yeah, you need to have this in every art store. This needs to be everywhere for artists and hairdressers too, apparently, because it does the hairdresser coloring tubes. I got to get one for my hairdresser. I'm gonna take a little bit of black here, kind of set the mouth coming back.
Have to say,
maybe a little bit of that, and let's put in a nostril while we're at it.
Wrong application, Ken.
Wrong application.
Yep.
Toothpaste. What?
It's a squisher, not a roller.
It's a squisher, not a roller.
you'd you'd end up with some very flat things.
Bring a little bit of depth here and a little bit of depth here. And I may come in and glaze some of this. Doesn't he look nice? I love him coming in. A little more white on my brush. Not perfectly white, but just a lot more white. And what's great is like when I come into the little muzzle, I can get a little pink here. Look at that. Get a little pink on my. There we go. He's looking pretty good. That's just the beginning of that. just, just the good day. Things are okay. Good day. Let's continue to paint his cuteness. I'm going to get a little of my burnt sienna. And I'm going to come here and really sort of sorrel him out. I'm using my number 6 hog brush just because it's a nice soft diffused one. And I may actually even get into my, remember I talked about the round blenders being amazing?
Hmm.
Because look at that. Look at that blending. Sometimes if I want to get that sort of soft, reflective look, that's like the way to go. I'm going to just sort of diffuse and blend that around. Let's highlight this wonderful little neck muscle right here. And maybe a little darker here along that mane. This is the burnt sienna and if you're wondering, did I get more of these? Oh yeah, because I have them down into this size. When I realized how wonderful these were, I bought every size they had. This is a 6. This is a number 12 in the round blender. You can get these at Joann's and Michael's and all the sort of like chain craft stores and any of the art stores and online and probably from the brush guys as well. I'm going to just keep rounding that out. And creating that shape there for him, right? A little more burnt sienna there. Just blending that and making it all soft because he's soft. That's something to know about this beautiful baby is that, very soft. A little more orange there. And taking it into more of an orange again, just highlighting this part of the neck muscle before we even get to the mane. You can see we're just building up the shape and form of the horse. Hi, Amy. What kind of brush am I using now, says Kathleen. This is worth getting if you can, if you're going to paint more than one time. And at the point you're painting paintings at this level, you are, is the Princeton Select Round Blenders. Now, I have them all the way down. This is a 12. I have them all the way down into a 6. I think they're worth their weight in gold. I love them. Makes such a huge difference. Like, look, when I'm going to come in and do his little face here, I'm going to switch out water. You can see my water has gotten quite dirty. Take a little bit of my red over here to a bright orange. Right. Say right here, I want to start talking about like maybe a little wonderful bone that's kind of sharp and reflective. I can begin to kind of work this out and add a little bit of a highlight here and get into the cheek highlight. If I didn't have this brush, I would just use a small round that I could kind of do a little scumble with. A little bit there. Just kind of blending in that gray and sorrel color, the face. A little brown and black. Now back into this very inexpensive Royal Langnickel brush. Why today? Just to show you guys that it doesn't, it's all great, but there are options. You have options. It's more important to understand why a brush works than, necessarily to just have one particular brand of brush. And if you guys can get to the place where you understand, oh, like this is why a brush is good or why a brush isn't good, then you will never be stuck on a painting again. Adding a little bit of kind of burnt sienna into there. A little bit inside that pocket, trying to create some shadow inside these little ears here. I'm going to get a little bit of my white, gray. Remember, that's the burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. I'm going to add some white to it to lighten it. And come here and highlight the outside of the nostril. Maybe the top of the lip coming back and a little bit at the area that would be holding the bit. And I have to decide, do I want to put tack on him or do I want him to be wild? And that's a decision that you can make. Do you want him to have a bridle and be out? Or do you want him to just be wild and having been given some time out in the field? And that's a decision that, we each need to make. A little bit of that kind of highlight there. Oh, he's just getting cuter and cuter, isn't he? Ah, I have a couple Royal and Langnickel brushes that I love, says DD. And I see Darcy saying hi to Amy. And, see, they don't have to be like the most complicated things on the planet. Where are my eyeglasses? So now I'm going to be doing some detail work. We can call this a new step because we're going to get on to the next thing. And I need my vision enhancers, I think, to be able to see well enough. How does that work?
That works.
That works. I made these. If you're like, where'd you get them? I made them. I got reading glasses that I glued things to. So I want to come in and do this eye. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my kind of coral and I'm going to get it into my gray. So it's still coral, but just a little bit grayed. In it with a little water so it come off my brush in any kind of a way. And then I'm going to come into the front of the eye. And I mean, just touch that there. Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole thing. And I've really got to work through here because it's small. Back into my black. Sometimes the shadows are as relevant as, say, like the dark is. I'm creating like a little shading in the lid. And I may have to get into an even smaller brush. If this brush isn't small enough, I may have to get into a smaller brush. Sometimes it's just about understanding back into the little coral lighting on the eye. I want it to be that light. But light enough that it registers on the horse's eye. See how that's just going on his little eye here?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing. Now I'm going to get a little bit of a highlight in my gray. That's just adding white to my burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. Just a little highlighted. Let's come here and highlight this little bit of the eye right here. Just a little bit. And I'm going to come in and I take a little of my phthalo blue and white. Try to add a bit of a reflection. If I get too much reflection going, kind of rock it back. Is that how I feel about that? I feel pretty good about that. I'm going to add a little more highlight to the nose. I'm not really using that much phthalo blue this time. I think that's pretty good, guys.
Yeah.
That's looking pretty nice.
I think he looks true. Got a little face.
So fun to paint horses. Just like painting them.
Yeah.
They're enjoyable to paint. A little more blue on this. A little more highlight there. I'm going to just take this here and try to highlight this again. A little bit of one there. Come back into my burnt sienna. This is the number 6 round blender, but you could just use any blender. I'm just using a blender I have on hand. Now, I loves him, and he's got some nice forlockies, so I definitely want to get that in there. I'm going to start out, though, with a pretty dark color on my forelock. I'm going to begin with a little burnt sienna and Mars black. And coming, this is the Royal and Langnickel 5.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the nice rubber grippy, which is nice today. Now, I could have some strange little sticky up hairs if I wanted to. And I mean, you could, but I might put a little more gesture into them instead of just stick straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, just because somebody clipped their horse's mane that way doesn't mean you have to paint it that way. You can paint a mane that you enjoy. The way you enjoy it. So what you see me doing is just trying to capture like just a little motion in the mane.
Mm-hmm.
A little brown and black. I might come up underneath the little muzzle here and just make sure we have a nice kind of shading. Isn't he pretty?
Yeah.
Gonna take a little bit of my burnt sienna over to a little bit of my orange. What I'm gonna want to do is come up over the mane and just highlight all this. I don't want to take out all of my dark color because my dark color helps me see what's here. Just like with people hair, I'm painting form and value, right? So we're not painting different stuff than we've ever been painting before. It's still form and value. Now to really get the hair though, I've got to get highlights, and so I need to dry it and come back, but I don't think we need to call it a whole other step.
Okay.
Okay?
Just a little dry.
Just a little dry.
Just a little dry to make so sometimes this is just a part of a process. It's just making sure you dry. You don't necessarily, have to. But drying is a good place to stop if you have to like make a thing. go do human stuff, get something to eat, drink. So
Hmm? Yeah.
nothing.
Nothing. A little more yellow into my mix. Here, lightening it up a bit. Some yellow. Maybe even some white. And just giving this a lighter value. Come around and add some highlights. A little more red into that one. A little more burnt sienna. A little more of the light color. Which is just a lot more yellow. And where I need to, a little bit of white. Now, we've got some mane going here.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back into my black and brown because this will show even more. Because of shadow. See how we can make the mane show up even more because of shadow?
Hmm.
Just pulling in the lighter values, pulling in the darker values. Overreach, I always just paint back. Just working that back and forth until I get it to where I'm superbly happy.
Ah.
Put a little highlight inside the ears. A little too much of one, so I can paint that out a bit. Sometimes I'll like overreach on the highlight. A little bit inside those ears. The ears need highlights, John.
Yes, they do.
Okay, I'm pretty happy with that actually. I'm liking that a lot.
Yeah. Now, would you consider you're going to do more horses in the future, right?
Yeah, if you want to paint more horses, I right now am stressed, as are probably you. World is a little bit stressful right now. And when I am stressed, I tend to paint horses, so expect more horses. There are many horses saved in the reference file. If you like horses, hit that subscribe button because there's going to be so many more.
Uh-huh.
So many, and I don't know why I haven't painted more horses than I have. I'm just adding a little bit of highlight. I don't know why I haven't painted more horses than I have because they were what I painted before I started the YouTube channel.
Oh, I see Mary's sketch out there. That's looking good.
All right, looking great. I think we're good. I think we can go on to the next step.
You think?
I think so.
We're stepping?
We're stepping.
All right.
So again, you can paint tack on your horse. As an artist, we are not beholden to the reference. We are informed by the reference. As an artist, I rarely paint horses in tack. Can I paint tack? Yes. I can paint a Steuben saddle. Yes. I can paint a Western saddle. Yes. I can paint any bit. I can paint a Hackmore. I can paint all the things. But in my world, my horses are free.
Huh.
And that's my world. You guys can decide that you want something different in your world, and that's okay too. But in my world, my horses are free. Now I'm going to come in here and I think I'm going to darken this up to build from. So I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna and phthalo green together. I'll have to put out some more burnt sienna. And I'm going to deepen the area that the flowers are in. I put some little bits of sorrel color here as if the horse is peeking through the green. Why do I do that? Because I can and it'll make it look better. Now, it doesn't need to be a whole step to deepen the green, but it does need to be dry before the next layer.
Okay. Just one of those things you got a little dry to make sure that you can get them to go through. And the real reason is you don't want to mix the darker with the highlights because they get muddied. So you actually want distinct layers. So you have to thoroughly dry sometimes. And that's kind of what she's doing, is trying between the layers. So, hello everybody. Nice to see everybody. And she is back.
Amy's telling a funny film fact. Matthew Broad. Oh, did you read that one?
Oh, you can read it.
Oh, did you already read it?
I was just no, I have not.
Oh, Amy Overd is sharing a funny film fact. Matthew Broderick couldn't control a horse in the film Lady Hawk, and when he was sent to ride the horse, Rutger slapped the horse too hard, and the thing took off and was gone for 2 hours. Yeah, you know that belief like horses will find the barn. Some horses find their way back home. We had a horse lost for 2 weeks. I think it was a friend of ours, Christine, was riding her horse Arrow, which we ended up buying later. And she dropped a canteen, and the canteen startled the horse, and he just left. And it was 2 weeks before he found that horse again because he couldn't find his way home. I'm just saying, you can't be sure that they're going to be able to find their way home. They don't necessarily. All right, I haven't really used that much phthalo blue, guys. I think I put it more out for the tack, but I'm not really doing the tack. So, interesting fun fact. We should put a note in the mini book, and I'll put a note in the video. So, future people painting are like, not that much phthalo blue. It's nice to have around, but I didn't really use it this time. I'm going to start putting in some sunflowers. Now, my sunflowers, I'm going to begin with a little bit of my yellow and red. All right, that's a nice start. A little burnt sienna, sunflowers, and sorrel horse. Kind of not dissimilar. And I'm going to begin by painting in their little faces. Nice big one. Now, I did a cow once, but all the sunflowers were turned to the side of the cow. So this is fun because these are facing us this time. Sunflowers can change directions that they're facing. So it is nice. I'm going to have all my sunflowers in front of the horse very much in focus, by the way. Just because I think that that will look better. Now we're just beginning with the orange. Definitely want to do one up here. There's a nice big one here, kind of facing this way. It's sort of covering some withers. Very interesting one. Got some partials over here. Just going to fill out all the little dots. The little one facing sort of to the side. Got a friend in the background. In a field, the reason sunflowers tend to face the same way is that they were following light. A nice little amount of them. That works out pretty well. Now, since I have these, I kind of know where they are here. I can take a little of my green and a little of my Mars black and make an almost black green. And we're going to start with a very deep stem for some of these. We're going to really be depending on contrast. So pull that over. And I'm going to get my little brush here. I'm going to take a bit of my green and my burnt sienna and a little of my cad yellow. I'm going to start to make some highlights out here of loosely implied leaves. I will also kind of diffuse in between the greenery, put a few little flowers that are going to be here and there, just so that they have that feeling. These are random marks that are kind of implied of the shape of leaves, the profiles that leaves give you. Notice that I paste them different directions. I make sure that they're not one direction. Everybody liking horses today?
Yeah.
Good, because
Lots of horse.
I really like horses. I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow. And what I'm going to be doing is just kind of maybe tucking in little bits of implied flower in there. You're not going to see all of it. It's just a hint. That makes sense. Much like the camouflage we did earlier. You guys are familiar with that camouflage that we did earlier?
Yeah.
Very much that. Now I'm going to take a lot more of my yellow over to my green. This green was phthalo green and burnt sienna. I'm going to highlight some of the leaves in this deep greenery. Again, this is camouflage. So guys, we don't want it all highlighted. We want bits of it highlighted. And we'll rinse that out. By now, my black and green should be completely dry. I'm going to take a little bit of this green and I'm going to add some white to it and a little more yellow. What's funny?
So, just questions if you'll paint more animals. And if you guys check out our channel, we have, especially Lollipop, we have so
I
many
like animals.
animals with flowers. So many.
So
Like,
many.
it's a thing. And if
It's a
so,
whole problem,
go
actually.
check out the channel. There's lots of flowered animals: chickens, cows, goats, sloths,
I think it's
giraffes.
just that yeah, we have a problem.
Just there's lots.
I'm gonna pull
Like
out a
all
little
the
stem
emojis,
here.
we got all those.
I'm gonna
Dogs,
make a
cats,
little
bears.
diamond shape. That's gonna be this sunflower leaf. This is the black and green again.
We've done a gorilla and a pig.
We've done that. Yeah, we did cocoa.
Did we do a turkey? We did.
We've done a turkey.
We've
I
done
did a turkey
frogs.
one year. Nobody was really into it, but I've done a lot of frogs. New frog is coming up. Um,
I don't know that you've done a rhino or a camel.
I have not done a rhino or a camel.
So those two, no. But the rest of those emojis, I think we've done. We've done snails.
I'm just doing little leaves here. Done some snails. Done all the birds.
Yeah.
So my
Oh.
leaves are kind of like a little heart shape. Notice how I'm making little hearts?
Yeah.
That's how I'm getting that little
Whoop.
leaf shape going.
Somebody wants to have some adult fun.
Who?
Bye bye.
Oh, those are bots too. Though they're pretty like sophisticated now. Like they'll stuff like I like your painting and it's I'm like, "Oh, it's not a bot." And then I'm like and then it takes you to the link which
Oh,
is definitely
this one was all about birthday suit fun.
birthday suit fun.
Yeah, they were I was like, "Woo!"
No. No. And if we did that, we would have an OnlyFans account and that's where we would paint blue tit birds. Just because to be ornery, I'm going to add little leaves here. You can kind of see me doing that where I'm adding little leaves.
There's a spotted duck that will probably cover on that same channel.
I want to do ducks this year because I want to do the great stamp, the duck stamp. So you notice how we've got these like little green leaves. We're going to come back into our bright green, right? Here's our bright green. Adding just little highlights to the leaves. Not too much, guys, just little highlights. Just little highlights, not the last highlight we will do for these, just the start of a highlight. So now we've got defined leaves that we're really seeing, and we've got loose leaves that we're not really seeing all that well. We've got flowers that we're going to be really showing in focus, and then we've got flowers that are out of focus. And so that's creating depth for us. Those are things that are creating depth, like our out of focus background behind us, creating depth. These are just all creating depth. Oh, got a penguin, got a puffin. Woohoo, birthday suit, says Amy. Mary Myers, I think Sherpa's done almost all the animals from the Ark. Yeah, maybe. I might have, like Shel Silverstein's version of it. Long neck geese. All right, I'm going to dry this. We'll call this a step. We'll come back and do the next step.
All right. So I love the horse paintings. This one's coming. See, the horse always looks so like, I have a pretty mane. Look at my pretty mane. I'm telling you, the horses have the feelings. So, I like the horse. In the flowers. I can't wait to add more flowers.
Yay! I might with this Royal Langmickle brush all day. I don't know.
To the steps.
To the steps. I'm going to take a little of my green and come and add a little green center to some of these sunflowers. Little green center. Yeah, a little green center to some of the sunflowers. That's because sunflowers sometimes have a little green center. Everything is dry, so I can come get my really light green, which was a lot more cad yellow and a little bit of white. I can make sure that my little leaves have an even brighter layer of highlight to them. Just picking them up. I'm going to come back into my orange Really come around my little green circle. Just the start of it, you know? And just go around my green circle with some orange, rinse out. And then I'm going to make an orange that's a lot more yellow. It's still distinctly orange. I haven't even gotten to the petals of the flower yet, guys. Just talking about seed pods right now. Sometimes I can come back into some burnt sienna and even a little Mars black.
Wow.
Hmm.
Just surprised at how effort there is to
The sunflowers?
uh no, like um think that we
Oh
have a
my
group.
gosh, this name, I see the
I know.
name now.
I was
Holy
like
crud.
I was like
They're like, we're not even hiding from YouTube's spammer.
I don't get this. Is this the demographic that you think that I mean, like, what makes you
Are you
come
ever
here?
insulted by the spam bots, like where they like write you and they're like, once before I knew it was bots, I like tried to talk to what I believe was a young woman to encourage her to choose different choices.
But it's like, what? Why would you put that energy here? Nobody here's gonna come to
I
that.
don't know, man. They just seem to think, all right, I'm going to take a little bit of my orange and yellow. I've still got this here, and I'm going to just
We'll keep deleting them.
bring in some little petals around, right? Now these I am speaking to a little more about each individual petal just because, and again, this is just the start. If your yellow isn't covering at all, like I'm going to have a couple layers of yellow, and even so, my green is sort of showing through. But if your yellow isn't covering at all, you may need to paint the areas that are going to be your sunflowers white first.
I guess we could use that as like a reference photo, but I think that might be a little disturbing reference photo.
What?
Amy was saying like, well, as artists we like nudes, but I was like, that might be a little too nude for a reference.
My mom. There is a gallery that really wanted some figure paintings and they wanted nudes. And so, we didn't go down. Houston used to have a thing. I think they still have a thing where you can go draw nude models for a fee. Not adult entertainment, like for artists. Like it was poses for artists, but we didn't do that. And so my mom, like through her husband, I don't even like to call him my stepdad, but he had some penthouses, and so like she used that as a reference.
Very
It was a
unusual.
super intense little reference, I'll tell you that right now. It had to go in the back of the mall, I complained. It go in the back of the store. Did it sell? Yeah. Yeah, it did. And we all realized, this is probably a very underserved market that we are not going to serve. The model's important, though, is all I'm saying. The model is important.
Everybody's loving this. This is great.
Just put in those little flowers. We're going to get into them more. Again, this is just the start of them. Just the start. Just the beginning. There's so much more to do. Again, I'm just getting into my cad yellow.
As artists, we want references, not biology lessons.
Oh, so at career day, I did career day at my son's school, and this one there were a couple kids. Let me tell you, no kids thought YouTube was a future. That's what I learned. Number one, most of them did not see YouTube as a career financial future. Maybe art, but the other thing they weren't sure about. Some kids did. But there was one kid who was like so proud of their sister who was older, who was getting a degree in anatomy illustration, which is like a big deal. But what I really loved is how proud this sibling was of their older sibling. It was just pretty amazing. I'm just bringing this in. See, we're just bringing these little look, guys, and I'm just like again because it's a loose sketch. We're just starting to talk about these. I like doing this. Do you guys like an earlier? I think next weekend it's at 1. But do you guys like this earlier time on a Sunday? I don't know. I don't know if we had like good attendance or not, or if it was like yay for people, or like oh gosh. Been trying to do a couple slightly earlier releases just so that people had some different times that they could come.
Is that a number 4 round?
This is a number 5 Royal and Langnickel, but you guys have to realize, like my number 4 round and this number 5, look how they're not these numbers. They're just I don't know, made up nonsense,
Hmm.
right? They're just made up nonsense. That's what they are. Kind of facing this little flower kind of down. Sometimes you give them some different directionality. Just some nature's being messy kind of moments. Because you know what? Sometimes nature's just being messy. I'm not even done with these. These are just like the loose beginnings of this. I just sometimes have to get sort of the shape and form down, and then I come back, much like with the horse, and just refine that value. I'm East Coast, so it's like 11 a.m., Suzanne. That's not too terrible.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's still 3 a.m. in Australia. No, so for Australia and for a couple, we're gonna do like this summer we're gonna do some like 8 a.m. Eastern time streams, so that if you're in Australia, you could be here at a time that was not miserable. I believe that's I believe that's what the word clock told me is that like that was a time that would work.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna get some of this here now. While this is having a dry, let's call this a step and add another step, and we'll finish up the flowers. I just mix some burnt sienna to some Mars black. Cassandra's is Karen, you know you can move. Well, I love that you're up with us, Cassandra. That means a lot to me. I hope you're not having too bad of insomnia, and that's why you're seeing this. But I will try to get some streams that are better times for different zones. I'm just adding a little brown and black to the bottom of some of the pods. It's kind of helping create some form and shape. I'm just doing this Royal Lang nickel brush. This is not a special brush by any means. I think this came in a pack of brushes. Yeah, I think it came in a little pack
Hmm.
of brushes. All right. Now maybe a little more orange here. I'm going to come in and kind of add a little some value to the inside of the petal. Just a little bit of orange to the inside of these wonderful petals. Just kind of filling them in. A little burnt sienna there. These will really pop once the petals pop, but until the petals pop, it's just kind of a little value journey. Just adding a little burnt sienna and orange. Just creating some interest in diversity into the seed pods. Getting a little yellow green. That's a little too much white in it. A little more yellow green. I really dig that yellow green center of these. I don't know why I'm like so hyper focused on it, but just I'm into it. A little bit of yellow, just bright yellow. A little bit of white. Not too much white, but just a little bit of white. Coming in, kind of doing more thoughtful little brush strokes for the petals. Just kind of picking that. See how that flower just pops now?
Oh yeah.
No, sometimes I kind of curve those petals down or up just to kind of imply direction of them or the direction that they're being messy. Sometimes I'll grab some just pure cad. I can always come in and be like, no, a little more orange here. Just a little more. There's a couple doubles that are like behind each other. Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm.
I might put out just a little more yellow. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. And then we're breathing. And we are cool. Aren't we? We're cool. Again, this is just the Royal Lang nickel brush. Found in a pack. I think I bought this in a pack of other brushes. We're just adding a little bit of yellow. And come in here and get a little of the brown and Kind of thinking about that little seed pod more intensely. And you can do that. You can be like, oh, I'm going to think about this more intensely. Just a little more yellow. Look at those sunflowers just bloom. Take a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. Now I still want this to be yellow. I just want this to be quite light. I'm just adding some highlights to some of these flowers. A little bit of yellow. And some white. Look at those flowers start to glow and brighten up. Just up here at the tops of them. Little light capturing the top. What do you guys think of how you're doing? Feel like you're doing, oh,
Looking so good.
that just gives me every bit of joy. There's just no part of me that is not really excited about that. I'm going to come back with some just pure yellow. Capture some of these little petals here and there. See, as we paint them, they come alive, don't they?
Really do.
I just feel like these are luminous. Just luminous. I feel like he's wonderful. I feel like these are wonderful. I am pretty happy with this, so I'm going to
This
give it
is
a signature.
pretty fantastic.
I think it is. I'm
this
pleased.
I really like that this is like if you wanted to do your first horse, this is a totally achievable first horse.
No, this is a tough first horse.
Well, okay.
I've got some great, easy beginner first horses, and I've got one coming up but he is explained, and if you're trying to learn how to paint horses, that's something I can lean into. I feel like I could help y'all paint horses. If you'd like to paint more horses, let me know in the comments. Message us. I love horses. I don't know why we don't paint them all the time. I'm trying to find a little signature brush. And come here and get a little of my green and yellow and white, and I'll thin it with some water. I'm going to just try to create a little signature. Come right here and be just a pain. Let's do fluid white because I need more pigment. So why did I change paint? Because my paint was too thin and it wasn't pigmented enough. But if I use this, the titanium white from Golden, it's super pigmented. So when I'm trying to create like a light green, it's
Yep.
going to be able to do that no problem. And it's going to give me enough pigment that when I go to do the signature, it will show, even on a fine, fine line. Where do we put it? Oh, all right, just from Shannon's enthusiastic, uh, oh my gosh, these names just get worse. Um, just these spots are just horrific. Uh, if just from just the enthusiastic, uh, uh, encourage. Sorry, that just broke my brain. I just
You look over there and it's like, thank you for the moderators. I will say I'm complimented by the variety of people who would like to paint with us.
Kim
We
wants to know: is there still drawing classes? They were on a pause for acrylic April, and then I've just got some stuff which I will get with you patrons about later. Going on, but yes, drawing classes will resume
Yep,
for
and
sure.
I suggest
Right now, you
aprons.
guys are getting early peeks at upcoming lessons, and you get to name everything. Like if you're in the patrons, you can suggest a name for this fabulous cutie.
Mhm.
Right after the show, and be like, "Oh yeah, I really dig this," and uh, I'm gonna try it. Would a bigger canvas make it easier or need more detail? Allison, I think a bigger canvas makes it easier. Right now we're resetting the main studio, so I would have done this on a big easel on a 16 by 20, but it's being reset, so I'm gonna be at the table for just a little bit. And well, I'm resetting the big studio. So I would preferentially I like to paint horses bigger. I think when you go bigger, I think it's sometimes harder to get the details in that you want to get in when it's small, and it's easier sometimes to, do that bigger. Is that a
Bigger.
reasonable answer?
Yeah.
I'm still kind of I'm at the I'm over my cold, but I'm like at the end where I'm still fatigued. Do you guys
That
like my brain is still like whoa.
happens.
It is. But I don't know about you. I feel better.
Yeah.
I feel just better. Painting the horse made me feel better. It's been a minute since I've gotten to paint a horse. I think the statue was the last one that I did, and it was really more about the metal. I feel like let's do some more of this.
Yeah.
Do some more of this. Don't unsub because I'm going to paint some horses. I paint other things. I've got like one hoop paintings next weekend. There is an absolute beginners easy beach coming up, and there is an absolute beginners Father's Day kind of gone fishing painting. If you have somebody in your life that you love that fished with you that was played the role of your dad, that might be a
Yeah.
perfect painting to celebrate Father's Day. That's going to be next weekend. I've got some one hoop paintings coming out, Q-tips and all of that is coming again. So if you enjoyed that, I'm going to make sure that this summer, as your littles get out of school, as more families are painting across ages and skill levels, that there are. We're going to keep doing these guys
Yeah.
for the long time viewers, but we will make sure that there are beginner paintings for people who haven't painted before. So, uh, you know, that is what's coming up. So hit the subscribe button. Give me ideas on horses. You might even get a racetrack one out of me because I used to love painting race horses. That's when you see tack. I will paint tack when there's race horses. Um, oh, Carly says that they were thinking of adding a deer silhouette on the Father's Day one. Oh my gosh, on the far bank, that would be incredible. That would be so gorgeous. Or I guess right next to them, like hiding, like maybe they don't see it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And beyond all that, I want to say something to you guys. Be safe. Um, the world is crazy, and no one is close to any solutions to that. So be situationally aware. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health. Take care of your physical health. Take care of the people in your life that you love in your communities. Be there for each other because that is the only way that we are going to do well, I think, is being there for each other. So be good to yourself and be good to each other. And I want to see you and Anisel really soon. Bye bye.